It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to a special edition of Travel and Cruise Industry News on this Saturday morning, August the 13th, 2022. Coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia, Central Virginia area, right near Lynchburg. Again, going through a cold front. As it was pretty nippy last night. It actually got down in the 50s here, and is only supposed to get up to about 70 today. And this next week, nighttime lows will be around 60. So the new heater system on the pool is going to be put to a test. The cruise industry just went totally bonkers yesterday afternoon and evening, as first Princess removed their vaccine requirements, and that was a big splash. And then shortly thereafter, Carnival follows suits, basically with updating their protocols. We're going to talk about both here this morning. Today, folks, even though this is a special edition, I'm going to do this pretty much like it would be a regular edition show, like we do daily, Monday through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But this is a special edition because of the breaking news from yesterday. Today is National Filet Mignon Day. You guys know we've talked about this several times before. Big fan. As I've gotten older, even though I'm a big fat guy, I just can't comfortably eat immense amounts of steak like I have all my life. And I've gotten to the point now, especially in nice steak restaurants, like on cruise ships, if I do one of the specialty dining, or even sometimes in the main dining room, I'm perfectly happy with a nice filet mignon, as opposed to, I was always a big ribeye guy. I just can't do them anymore. So filet, and I'm perfectly happy. Be a great night to go out and have a filet someplace, folks, to celebrate the day. Might have to think about that myself. If you're listening via the podcast, and we do put special edition podcasts up, and pretty soon I'm going to have to just start calling this show the Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast, because of tremendous support I'm getting on the podcast side of things. And I do appreciate all that you guys do when you listen. You can always access the daily broadcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net. Normally, the daily podcast is up within 15 or 20 minutes of the end of my show. Takes a little bit of time to get everything processed and entered into the systems and so forth. But you can always access it via my blog or wherever you get your podcasts from, all the major hitters: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, you name it. And just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News and I'll pop up. So in the description of your podcast is a link to access the video feed if you want to ever jump over and check out pictures that I'm showing either on my cruises, like I've got one coming up here. I'll leave next Friday, head down to Miami for what I'm calling it the Hot Air Tom cruise. So I'm going to be cruising with Hot Air Tom and Cindy on the Norwegian Sky. Or some of the Chillie Cruises family. We've been featuring a lot from Rochelle. I'm going to have a couple things from Rochelle here this morning as well, over in Greece. So anytime you want to hop over on the video feed, just click the link and come over and check out the pictures, and you can go back to your podcast. That's fun. Couple things to keep in mind, folks. August 19th and August 29th, I will be on the road as I am, like I announced yesterday, I am driving to the Hot Air Tom cruise as opposed to flying. I canceled out of the flight. I'm just worried about the whole flying situation and the cancellations and worried about missing the cruise. And I said, no, I'm going to drive. So we're going to do that. So the 19th and 29th, my regular show will be broadcast on the road from probably a McDonald's, because that's the best Wi-Fi that I've ever found on the road. Also, the September 8th and 9th shows will be on the road, as I will be on my way back to Miami to get on Symphony of the Seas. And I'm not sure on the 19th. There's a good possibility that I will get home on the 19th. Just not sure on the September 19th show. We'll play that one by ear as I actually get off on the 17th. I could be home by the night of the 18th, depending on what time I get off the ship. We'll know that as we get along there. All right, before we get to the news today, a couple things to go over. One, Hot Air Tom, who was supposed to be working down there in Port Canaveral, of course, yesterday he's gazing at ships instead of working. That's the Independence of the Seas. And after she sailed. And that would be Carnival Liberty, I believe. And that's her a little further along. I think I see Cindy's silhouette there on the balcony. And, of course, Disney Wish. Been a lot of talk this week on Disney. A lot of talk. And the Wish when she sailed. So, Hot Air Tom obviously not paying a whole lot of attention to his working and paying attention to cruise ships, which he's apt to do. So, all right, now, folks, what an interesting look at churches. You know, she's nuts about churches, cathedrals, and visits them all over the place. Her adventure, this was actually not today or yesterday. This was a couple days ago, one of the days that I missed, when she was in Pyrgos, Greece. The adventure today was visiting a lovely tiny mountaintop Greek village. We walked through a narrow passageway as we climbed to the top of the mountain. Unique village shops, restaurants, and great wine at the local vineyard in Pyrgos, Greece. And one of the shops there along the way. Lovely scenery from up on top of the mountain, overlooking the Mediterranean. Might not be the Mediterranean, might be the Aegean, whichever. One of the things she pointed out is how important donkeys are. As you can see, this was well laden with supplies, looks like furniture and everything else. And this is one of the restaurants, but notice also there's a donkey sitting in front of the side of the restaurant there. On this little island, donkeys are worth $4,000 a piece. $4,000 you have to pay to get a donkey to carry your stuff from the store to your house. Notice there are 90 cars. So, and that's from up on top of the mountain, looking down. Just lovely. Again, folks, I'm sorry I'm not going to be going over there next year. Well, we'll see one of these days. One of these days, I'm going to make it to Greece. So, hi, Bonnie. Wondering if the requirements have changed for crew members. Have not seen anything specifically on crew members as far as I know. And again, I have not been on a ship now for a month or close to a month. A month, come think of it, this week. I have not seen anything on crew changing that they still have to be masked. Of course, with the latest guidance from CDC and all the changes that they made, one of the things that they still say is you need to mask inside in most places, or a lot of places. There are a few places you don't have to, but I have a feeling that's going to change as we get into fall. If you recall, that every fall now, since all this has started, we've had big spikes. I have a feeling that may happen here as well. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a quick break for a break from one of our network sponsors, and then I'll be back with this huge news from yesterday, travel and cruise industry news. Be back after a break. All right, the first thing it wasn't actually the first thing, but the first major thing that happened yesterday was Princess Cruises announcing a significant change to the COVID protocols. It removed all of its vaccine requirements for most voyages of less than 16 days so that anyone can cruise, and it adjusted pre-travel testing requirements to make it less complicated to sail. Now, all this goes into effect on September the 6th. So from now until September the 6th, you got to go with the protocols that are in place currently. So starting in September, Princess has removed vaccine requirements for cruises of less than 16 days and adjusted the pre-cruise testing requirements. Vaccinated guests sailing on a cruise of fewer than 16 days in length will no longer have to test before boarding. They just need to upload proof of their vaccination on the Ocean Ready app. That's, of course, the Princess pre-cruising app. Unvaccinated guests or those who do not provide proof of vaccination on those itineraries will only need to self-test within 3 days of sailing and upload evidence of a negative test before boarding to the Ocean Ready app. So, if you are vaccinated, folks, does not require any more vaccination and boosted. If you are vaccinated, now they recommend that you do it all the way. Vaccinated guests sailing on a cruise of fewer than 16 days will no longer have to test before boarding. Doesn't matter on the length of the cruise. None of this short cruising. It's less than 16 days. The new guidelines are for all sailings where government requirements allow the cruise line to implement these guidelines. The exceptions, and there are exceptions to this, folks, but they're not many and not complicated. The exceptions to this rule from Princess are cruises sailing from Canada, Greece, and Australia. The new protocols are no pre-cruise testing for vaccinated guests on voyages of up to 15 nights. That's guests 5 and older, except full Panama Canal transits, trans-ocean, or other unique itineraries. Those are handled differently. Unvaccinated guests must provide a negative self-test result taken within 3 days of embarkation. Unvaccinated children under 5 do not require pre-cruise testing. Guests sailing on voyages of 16 nights or longer, or sailing on full Panama Canal transits, transocean, or other specific itineraries need to take a supervised test within 3 days of embarkation, guests 5 and older. The change from Princess Cruises is huge news because Princess became the second major cruise line to remove most vaccine requirements. There were some minor ones, but this, followed suit to Royal Caribbean. On August the 10th, Royal Caribbean announced that further updates would be coming on departures from September 5th on select sailings. Their vaccine requirement on cruises out of Galveston, Los Angeles, New Orleans, and Europe will be dropped. They have not yet announced any change on Bahamas, cruises going to the Bahamas, going to the private islands, any of those. Princess is not saying anything about Bahamas. So I got a feeling you're going to hear something more out of Royal Caribbean probably pretty soon. Now, shortly after Princess made this big announcement, Carnival updated their whole situation. So now for the Carnival Cruise Line, I'm not talking about the Carnival umbrella. I'm talking about Carnival Cruise Line specifically, sister to Princess Cruise Line. Carnival umbrella owns both. Literally just minutes later, in a major update to its protocols for sailings in September, Carnival Cruise Line removed the pre-cruise testing requirements for vaccinated guests with some limitations for some destinations. The Carnival will also welcome all unvaccinated guests to sail, starting from departures on September 6th. Now, again, folks, this differs a little from Princess, but it's pretty much similar. Starting from departures on September the 6th, vaccinated guests no longer have to undergo a pre-cruise test to sail. However, guests will still need to show proof that they are fully vaccinated. So the old vaccination card, folks, you still got to have that. Carnival is also making a major change to its vaccine requirements, which will open up cruises to more guests. Unvaccinated guests will be allowed to cruise and no longer be required to show proof of vaccination before a cruise. However, this does not apply to sailings in Australia or on voyages 16 nights and longer. Okay. Unvaccinated guests or those who choose not to show vaccination proof will still need a negative PCR or antigen test taken within 3 days before departure. It's also important to know that policies do depend on the destination that ships visit, and further changes could be coming. Carnival also says that for those guests that do have a pending vaccine exemption application and waiting for a response, that booking is confirmed as long as the cruise is departing on or after September 6th, does not visit Canada, Bermuda, Australia, or the voyage is 16 nights or longer. Okay, so if the cruise is going to Canada or Bermuda or Australia or sailing from Australia, obviously, or the voyage is 16 nights or longer, there are other rules. Now, not as major a news, but it's clearly important to more our folks on the other side of the pond. Earlier in the day, P&O and Cunard in the UK also announced the easing of pre-cruise testing. This goes back to similar to what we had in over on this side of the pond there for a couple weeks. On shorter voyages, that's 5 nights or less than 6 nights. No testing requirements for vaccinated passengers starting September 6th, and instead will highly recommend that guests take the test prior to sailing. Further changes could be coming as there are still some limitations on select sailings due to the requirements of certain destinations. I do know that over on that side of the pond, there's some issues with Greece, also some issues with Spain, and those are subject to change literally daily. Now, let's get back to the bottom line of all this. Obviously, this is going to loosen up a lot of cruising now, and with Carnival especially, loosening things up. Keep in mind, folks, again, we're going into the fall. COVID is still out there. It's a debatable issue on whether or not it's as dangerous as it was, as debilitating as it was. If somebody like me that has other issues is taking a bigger risk, should I do anything extra? Those things are debatable. I don't know how I'm going to feel on cruise ships. I can't tell you that until next week. And I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I had gotten before, when I knew 95% of the people on board were vaccinated, very comfortable on cruise ships. Very comfortable not wearing a mask, except unless I was specifically asked to do so in some indoor settings, and not many of those. Had gotten totally comfortable with that. Now, because I do know that there's going to be a lot more people that aren't vaccinated now on ships, even though they tested a negative 3 days before, up to 3 days before. To me, there's still a window in there that could be troublesome. And that is, look at all the people that have gotten off of cruise ships, come home from cruises. And I'm not saying this to be negative, folks, because believe me, I'm not negative on the cruise industry. But a lot of people have come home from cruises recently with one of the new variants of COVID. And it shows up 5 days after they're off the ship. Didn't show up while they were on the ship. So they got home. 4 or 5 days later, they got started getting sick, started showing symptoms, tested, and found out that they were positive. Now, 3 days, you have to test negative to get on board if you're unvaccinated. Okay, well, that's okay. But what about that other 2-day window in there? Day 4 and 5, that these people were not tested, were not showing any symptoms, and then it still crept up. I don't know. We're just going to have to see how this changes things, how it changes how I feel, how other people feel. Just don't know yet. This is going to open things. It's going to get things a lot closer to being normal. Yes, there's still some specific bugaboos, like if you're going to Bermuda or the cruise is going to Canada. So, there's clearly the fall cruises to Canada. They go to Halifax and New Brunswick, or Alaska cruises in September. A lot of those are still scheduled through the month of September. They visit Canada, so that's going to kick into the exemptions to this. The bottom line, folks, if you're planning on cruising in the month of September and forward, stay awake. Things can change in a heartbeat, both to you and to everybody on a cruise. Keep in touch with your travel agent if you use a travel agent. or your cruise line to stay on top of changes. By all means, be especially attuned to emails that you get from your cruise line. I know quite often in the past, I said, oh, there's another thing from, Royal Caribbean, or another thing from Norwegian or whatever, Carnival. And maybe not pay attention to them now, because it could be a change that's announced 15 minutes ago that's going to affect you directly tomorrow. So just stay awake, stay aware. And this channel will try to keep up with the changes and bring them to you as confusing as it might seem. And there are times recently with everybody having a little different this and a little different that, it kept me totally confused. And I do this all the time. I feel for you guys at home that cruise once or twice a year and try to keep up with all this. I mean, that's got to be driving you nuts. Because somebody that lives this every day, it's driving me nuts. So, yeah. Stay awake. Stay on top of it. All right, let's hop over. I wasn't counting anybody being here this morning on a short-termer. Bonnie's with us. Hi, Bonnie. And I answered the question about crew members. Have no idea. I'll send Elizabeth a message. She's on a Carnival ship for now. We might have some news from Elizabeth shortly. But anyway, I'll send her a message and see if I can get an answer to that, Bonnie. How's that? Katie's with us. Hi, Katie. Katie's going to go have lunch with Hot Air Tom and Cindy today. I told Katie to be very careful that Hot Air Tom bites. I just wanted her to be aware of that. And Bonnie said to say hi to Tom and Cindy. Nikki's here. Hi, Nikki. Bonnie says, I know two people who recently caught the new variant, and they both got really sick, like having a bad flu for over a week, fever, headache, bad cough, body aches. Yeah. My son went through it. He felt like horrible for a week. And he's still hacking some. Nothing like he was. And he's back. He's testing negative again now, of course, too. So, and the new CDC guidance on that: if you are positive, for 5 days, mask, and for 10 days afterwards, mask. That's their new guidance. Mike's with us. Hi, Mike. His earlier message disappeared somewhere. Yeah, the internet cookie monster tends to steal things every now and then. Katie does not know which type she had in June. I feel certain, Katie, it was one of the new variants. I think that's almost like 95% of cases now are BA4 and BA5. Bonnie just put the same thing in. There's a new variant, BA4 and BA5, over and above this last variant. Okay. You're the man to go to. Well, there's other people out there, folks. It's just that sometimes I get frustrated, even with some of the big guys. Like Doug Parker made it look like the old crew, including Scott Gottlieb, were involved with the decisions to change things. And I have found no evidence of that whatsoever, unless he has some inside track that I don't know about. So, I mean, I'm not aware of it, and I stay as close to on top of this as at all possible. Of course, I'm not near as big as those guys are. So there are people maybe that respond to them that will not respond to me because I'm too small. I understand that too. And yeah, I do follow a couple of the people that do the same thing I do. I try to listen to Tony every day. I don't listen to Don every day. Only because I really I don't like Don's bait and switch titling. I get aggravated some with Tony on bait and switch titling as well, where they, the story's not what it looks like. But still, for content wise, I do follow them and listen on a fairly regular basis. Other guys, like I don't listen to Doug Parker every day. I don't have time to do all of that. Just, not in there and have any kind of a life. And then I have medical issues and I need to do my exercising in the pool and all those things are factored into my life. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Oh, Chillie, I'm trying to get Bill Panoff to have you on his show. He had Sherry from Cruise to TV last week. You'd be a good guest on Bill's show. Well, thank you. I do appreciate that, buddy. I'm happy to be on anybody's show. It doesn't matter to me how big or how small. Also, I sent a message out to a small content creator this morning. I'm much bigger than they are. I'm happy to have them on the show, especially if they have a good reason or are doing something that, I find interesting or I think you guys would find interesting. This was one of those situations. So, yeah, I don't care how small anybody is. I know some people in the business like Emma and JJ Crew that got really big that accept me. And then other people, and I won't mention any names, that are way bigger than I am, way bigger than I'll ever be, that want absolutely nothing to do with me. And that's okay. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing. I try to bring you as much content as I can on a daily basis. So, all right, that's going to wrap up today. Who knows what's going to happen between now and Monday. We have a whole nother day in there, all day today and tomorrow, when there could be more breaking news. So I may see you again. You never know, folks. If not, I'll be back on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for Monday Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast. So I'm going to start calling it that, I guess. All right, guys. Y'all have a fantastic weekend. Katie, hi there, Tom and Cindy. Y'all enjoy your lunch. I wish I was there. I'll see you guys next weekend, however. All right, guys. As always, this is the old fat travel guy. Stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Later, y'all. I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.